Chapter 4 Becoming Nothing. Geralt watched the video for the 7th time, alone in his private office, and felt the cold fury settle deeper into his bones. The footage was shaky, filmed by someone terrified, but the content was crystal clear. His son, moving through that hallway with clan-level precision. Wind blades cutting through air. The barrier technique Geralt himself had drilled into Marco 10,000 times. The footwork, the breathing patterns visible in how Marco's chest moved even at that speed. And then the money shot to Marco, marking that woman, blood streaming down her face as she screamed. Bigots like your leader gave me this scar. Gave it to me for being who I am. Now you get to wear one too. Geralt paused the video on Marco's face. 18 now. The scar Geralt had given him 5 years ago was a permanent line of raised tissue across his left cheek. The boy no. The man stared directly at the camera with cold calculation in his eyes. My son. The thought came unbidden, unwanted. Geralt crushed it immediately. Not his son. Not anymore. That boy had died the night he chose perversion over family, sin over righteousness, shame over honor. What walked around wearing his son's face was something else. Something that needed to be eliminated before it destroyed everything Geralt had built. His phone, the encrypted one, buzzed. Darius, tell me you've seen it. His cousin said without preamble. I've seen it. It's him. Has to be. The techniques, the skill level, the age, the scar. Geralt, it's your son. Marco is the one teaching. Geralt said nothing. The council is demanding action. They want blood. Someone with that level of clan training teaching outsiders. It's not just breaking the law. I'm handling it, Geralt said quietly. How? You can't exactly. I said I'm handling it. His voice dropped to something dangerous. Tell the council I'm sending someone, one of our best. The problem will be eliminated quietly, and no one outside the clan will ever know it happened. Darius was quiet for a moment. You're sure? Because if this goes wrong, if people connect this to you, to the purity movement, it won't. Geralt ended the call. He pulled up his contacts, a different list, one that had nothing to do with the purity movement, and made another call. Michael, he said when the line connected. I need you in the city. Today. There's a target that needs to be removed. Quietly, efficiently, no witnesses. Who's the target? Michael's voice was calm, professional. He'd been hunting Rogue Awakened for Rabbit Clan for 15 years. One of their best. My son. Silence on the line. You're Geralt. I didn't know you had a son. I don't. Not anymore. He was disowned 5 years ago. Now he's teaching our techniques to clanless, making a mockery of everything we've built. I want him dead. I want everyone he's taught dead. I want this problem erased before the council decides to investigate further. Understood. I'll leave within the hour. Geralt hung up and stood, straightening his tie. He had a rally in 2 hours. 50,000 expected attendees. The purity movement was growing faster than even he'd projected, and he needed to maintain momentum. He looked at the frozen frame of Marco's face one more time. You chose this, he thought. You chose to defy me, to shame me, to spit on everything I tried to teach you. Now you'll learn what happens when you challenge power you can't comprehend. He closed the laptop and went to prepare for his speech. The memorial service was held on the warehouse roof, under the open sky, because that's where Windwalkers belonged. Marco stood before 3 cloth-wrapped bodies, the setting sun painting everything gold and red. 32 Windwalkers stood behind him, everyone who'd survived yesterday, everyone who could walk or stand despite their injuries. The rest were downstairs being treated. David, Carmen, Yuki, 14, 23 and 26 years old. Dead. I don't have fancy words, Marco said, his voice carrying across the rooftop. I'm 18. I've been doing this for 5 years, and I still don't know what the fuck I'm doing most of the time. But I know this: they died fighting for something that mattered. He looked down at David's small form, the kid who'd been terrified of his own fire until Marco taught him to breathe through it, who'd made jokes about burning down his problems, who'd wanted to help others awakened the way Marco had helped him. David came to us 2 years ago, scared, alone, thought he was a monster because he couldn't control his power. I taught him breathing patterns, showed him how to center himself, watched him grow from a terrified kid into someone who could stand in a fight and protect others. Marco's voice caught. He died protecting the east entrance, bought time for hostages to escape. 14 years old, and he chose to stand his ground against armed adults because that's who he was. He moved to Carmen. Carmen made everyone laugh. Even when things were shit, even when we were scared, she'd crack a joke and remind us why we were fighting. She died next to David. They went down together, holding the line. Then Yuki. Yuki was with us for 3 years. She could wind walk better than most clan members I knew growing up. She taught half of you the advanced techniques I didn't have time to cover. She died buying time for the same reason David and Carmen did, because she believed in what we're building. Marco looked up at his crew. Some were crying. Some had faces like stone. All of them were looking to him for something. Meaning, purpose, a reason this was worth it. I won't lie to you, he said. More of us are going to die. The Purity movement wants us dead. The clans want us dead. We're teaching things we're not supposed to teach, helping people we're not supposed to help, building something that threatens everyone who wants to keep power to themselves. He touched his scar. But we're also saving lives. 22 people walked out of that safe house alive because of us. Because David and Carmen and Yuki bought them time. Because all of you were willing to fight. The sun was setting fully now, the sky turning deep purple. So here's what we do, Marco continued. We honor them. We remember them. We make sure their deaths meant something by continuing the work, by teaching more people, by building something so strong that their sacrifices become the foundation of a world where being awakened doesn't make you a target. He knelt, placing his hand on David's wrapped body. Rest easy, kid. You did good. Then Carmen. Then Yuki. When he stood, his boyfriend was there with a torch. They lit the pyres together, not cremation exactly, but burning incense and offerings in the old style. Smoke rose into the evening air, carrying their names upward. The Windwalkers stood in silence until the last of the smoke faded. Then Kai stepped forward. We're with you, Marco, all the way. To the end, Jenner added. Others echoed the sentiment. Not everyone. Marco could see doubt in some faces, fear in others, but enough. Enough to keep going. Thank you, Marco said quietly. Now get some rest. Tomorrow He stopped mid-sentence, his head snapping around to face west. His boyfriend tensed. What? Someone's watching us. Marco extended his senses, feeling for the Marner signature he'd just detected. Someone good. Really good. They're half a mile away, but I can barely feel them. That's clan-level suppression. Rabbit clan? Kai asked. Has to be. The council must have sent hunters. Marco's jaw tightened. Everyone inside. Now, grab essentials and scatter. Use the emergency protocols. Split up. Different safe houses. Don't group together. What about you? His boyfriend demanded. I'm handling this. Marco, this is clan business. Whoever they sent isn't here to talk. They're here to kill me and everyone I've taught. So you're going to run and I'm going to make sure they can't follow. He grabbed his boyfriend's arm. Please, I can't fight if I'm worried about you. His boyfriend stared at him for a long moment, then nodded. Don't die. Not planning on it. The windworkers cleared the roof in minutes, wind walking to nearby buildings and then scattering through the city. Marco watched them go, making sure everyone was moving, before turning his attention west. There, the signature was closer now, quarter-mile, moving with precision, not trying to hide anymore. They know I felt them. Good, let's do this properly. Marco wind walked off the roof, moving fast through the city. Not running, positioning. He needed open ground, no civilians, nowhere for this to become collateral damage. The old industrial district, abandoned factories, empty lots, plenty of space. He landed in the center of a vacant lot, surrounded by broken concrete and rusted machinery. The moon was rising, providing just enough light to see by. Marco stood in the open and waited. The hunter arrived 2 minutes later. He was older, maybe 40, with a kind of build that came from decades of training. Average height, average features, completely unremarkable except for the way he moved. Every step was precisely placed. Every breath controlled. The air around him barely rippled despite the wind. Marco, the man said. Not a question. I'm Michael. Your father sent me. Of course he did. Marco's voice was flat. Let me guess, kill me, kill anyone I've taught. Erase the problem before it spreads. Something like that. Michael looked almost regretful. For what it's worth, I heard what you did. Teaching clanless, helping people. It's admirable in its way. Foolish, but admirable. Foolish because I broke clan lore, or foolish because I thought I could get away with it. Both. Michael settled into a ready stance. Your father was my instructor once. I know what he taught you. I also know you've only had 13 years of training compared to my 37. This doesn't have to be painful. Surrender, and I'll make it quick. Marco laughed cold and sharp. You really think I'm going to just kneel down and let you execute me? I was hoping. Here's what's actually going to happen, Marco said, his own stance shifting into something his father would recognize. You're going to try to kill me. I'm going to kill you, and then I'm going to deliver your corpse to my father as a message. Michael sighed. Shame. I really did hope you'd be reasonable. Then he moved, fast, faster than anyone Marco had fought before. Mast-level speed enhanced by decades of experience. Wind blades came from 3 angles simultaneously: throat, chest, legs, all precisely calculated to overwhelm Marco's defenses. Marco didn't try to block all 3. He wind-walked backward, letting the leg strike pass through empty space, while redirecting the other 2 with barriers. Michael followed immediately, not giving him time to counter. Another combination: feint high, strike low, pressure burst to break Marco's footing. Marco felt his control strain. This wasn't like fighting purity movement goons. This was fighting someone who'd been doing this since before Marco was born. Someone who knew every technique Marco knew and had decades more refinement. I'm outmatched, Marco realized. In pure technique, in experience, in refined control. If this becomes a prolonged fight, I lose. So don't make it prolonged. Marco stopped retreating and attacked. He used speed, pure, overwhelming speed that his younger body could achieve that Michael's couldn't quite match. Wind walking at velocities that made him blur, striking from unexpected angles, forcing Michael to react defensively. But Michael was good. Every attack Marco threw got countered or redirected. The hunter's defense was perfect. No wasted movement. No gaps in his dart. They exchanged strikes for 30 seconds. Blades and barriers and pressure bursts. The air around them was a visible maelstrom of conflicting currents. Then Michael smiled. You're skilled, he said, not even breathing hard. For your age, remarkably skilled, but you're still 13 years old in training terms. Let me show you what 37 looks like. The air around Michael changed, became denser, more dangerous. Marco recognized the technique his father had used it once in a demonstration. A Vance Marna compression that increased both offensive and defensive capability exponentially. It required decades of practice to achieve. Michael attacked again, and this time Marco couldn't keep up. A blade got through his defense, shallow cut across his ribs, another across his shoulder. Michael was dissecting him, choosing where to cut, when to cut, how deep to cut. Fuck, I'm going to lose. Marco fell back, bleeding, trying to create distance. But Michael followed relentlessly. Professional, efficient, not cruel, just completing a job. It's over, Michael said, preparing what looked like a finishing strike. Any last words? Marco's mind raced. He was outmatched, outskilled, losing, but he wasn't dead yet. And he still had one advantage: his father had taught him something Michael didn't know about. Yeah, Marco said. I have last words. Go fuck yourself. He stopped fighting defensively, stopped trying to match Michael's refined technique, stopped holding back. Marco pulled on everything, every ounce of Marner he had, every technique his father had drilled into him, every instinct from 5 years of street fighting. He didn't try to be precise, didn't try to be elegant, just used overwhelming, brutal force. Multiple wind blades, all at once, from every direction. Pressure bursts to break Michael's stance, barriers collapsing and reforming to create gaps in his defense. It was sloppy, wasteful, exactly what his father had told him never to do, but it worked. Michael's perfect defense cracked. One of Marco's blades got through, deep cut across the hunter's side. Michael stumbled just for a second. Marco didn't give him a chance to recover. He wind-walked in close, too close for blades, and just pushed. A massive burst of compressed air at point-blank range, channeling every bit of anger and rage and grief from the last 5 years into one single strike. Michael's ribs broke. The hunter went flying backward, hit a concrete barrier, and collapsed. Marco approached slowly, breathing hard, bleeding from multiple cuts. Michael was still alive, barely, coughing blood, one lung probably punctured. You're better than I thought, Michael gasped. Should have prepared better. My father made 2 mistakes, Marco said, standing over him. First, he taught me everything he knew. Second, he threw me away instead of killing me. Now he has to live with the consequences. He'll send others. Let him. I'll kill them too. Marco raised his hand, wind blade forming. Tell him I said hello when you see him in whatever afterlife clan members believe in. The blade took Michael through the heart. Quick, clean, no suffering. Marco stood over the body, feeling nothing. No guilt, no regret, just cold certainty. They sent a master. I killed him. Good. He grabbed the body and launched himself into the air. The rally was in full swing when Gerald took the stage. 70,000 people, more than expected, packed into the outdoor arena. The energy was electric, angry, righteous, exactly what he'd cultivated. My friends, his voice boomed across the crowd, enhanced subtly by wind manipulation that no one could detect. My fellow defenders of humanity, today I come to you with troubling news. The crowd noise died. They were hanging on his every word. You've all seen the videos. The awakened who attacked our people, who marked them with scars, who murdered 12 of our brave defenders. He let his voice break slightly, pain, grief, the sound of a leader who cared. Among those killed was a young woman who'd joined our cause only a month ago, 22 years old. Her name was Sarah. She had a family, dreams, a future. That was a lie. Sarah had been 35 and a violent extremist, but the crowd didn't need to know that. These awakened, led by a man who calls himself Marco. Gerald paused, making sure the name landed, have declared war on normalcy itself. They train others like them. They spread their corruption. They believe that power makes them superior to us. The crowd booed. Some shouted curses. Perfect. But I say to you today they are wrong. Gerald's voice rose. We will not bow to those who think themselves gods. We will not submit to. Something fell from the sky. It happened so fast most people didn't see it. Just a dark shape dropping from impossible height, hitting the stage 20 feet from where Gerald stood. The impact was massive. Concrete cracked. Dust exploded outward. When it cleared, a body lay twisted on the stage. Michael, dead, obviously horribly dead, eyes open and glassy, blood pooled beneath him. His clan insignia subtle, sewn into his jacket clearly visible. The crowd screamed. Security rushed forward. Chaos erupted, but Gerald didn't look at the body. He looked up, high above, so high he should have been invisible. Marco floated. The moonlight caught him just right, making him barely visible as a dark shape against darker sky. Their eyes met across 3,000 feet of open air, and Gerald watched as his sun began to change. Marco's form shimmered, started to lose definition. His edges blurred, becoming indistinct from the air around him. No, Gerald thought. That's impossible. The becoming air technique takes decades to master. I told him it was impossible at his age, but Marco wasn't listening to impossible. His arms dissolved first, then his torso, then his legs. His face was last. Gerald saw his son's expression clearly for one final moment. Not hate, not rage, just cold, absolute certainty. Watch what you made me become. Then Marco's face blurred, shimmered, and dispersed into nothing. There was no body, no figure, just empty sky and the faint movement of wind currents where a person had been seconds before. Gerald stared at the empty sky, feeling something he hadn't felt in years. Fear. His 13-year-old, no, 18-year-old son, the boy he'd thrown away as worthless, had just achieved a technique only 5 people in Rabbit Clan's 1,000-year history had ever mastered, and he'd done it to deliver a message. I am stronger than you now. I am beyond you. I am everything you said I could never be. The wind picked up, swirling around the arena, and Gerald could swear he heard his son's voice in it. I'm coming for everything you built, farther, and you can't stop me. Then the wind died, and Marco, or what had been Marco, was gone. Gerald stood frozen on stage, security chaos erupting around him, Michael's corpse bleeding into concrete, 70,000 people screaming and running, and all he could do was stare at the empty sky where his son had been, where his son had become nothing. End of chapter 4.